The real question is, after serving on this board for 8 years, why are we in this financial position? That's a question employees in this community deserve answered. And I want to remind you something you personally said to me, that if you, Trustee Bender and Trustee So, had simply not rubber stamped on certain decisions, we would not be in this position. That statement is deeply concerning because board members are not elected to rubber stamp decisions. Your responsibility is oversight, accountability, and asking difficult questions before the district reaches financial instability. At this podium, that is exactly what many staff members and community members have been asking for: transparency, accountability, and leadership that is willing to address these issues honestly. Trustee Raleigh, at the last board meeting, you stated, they got word that CTA was running a test to see if they could rattle the district, and we became abrasive, and it became personal, and personal attacks and personal innuendos against different people's spouses and children in the district. That statement is simply false. Throughout this process, we have worked hard to stay focused on facts, transparency, district decision-making, and how those decisions impact employees and students. To characterize educators and staff in this way is both unfair and deeply disappointing. There were no attacks against spouses, children, or families by AVUDA members or leadership, including myself. We have consistently focused on decisions, financial transparency, and how those decisions impact staff and students. CTA was not running a test. You heard Steve speak earlier about the actual negotiation process. Perhaps before making statements that mischaracterize our union and our members, you should sit in on negotiations and see what actually happens. You would see that negotiations are not what you are portraying them to be. They involve collaboration, difficult conversations, problem solving, and people working hard to find solutions. Our members are speaking up because they care deeply about this district, its staff, and its students. They should not be twisted into something it is. This should not be twisted into something it is not. When certificated staff stood up here and spoke to the board, they spoke with their heart and soul. I personally had no idea who was showing up to speak and what they were speaking to. These comments are disrespectful to the very employees who continue showing up every day for students while advocating for fairness and accountability. And while these comments are being made, our classified staff, colleagues, are facing devastating cuts. I've spoken with certificated employees who have dedicated 10, 20, and even 20 plus years in the Apple Valley Unified School District and are now being told their hours are being reduced by an hour every day. Their work year is being reduced by multiple days. Some are being cut from 8-hour positions down to 3.5 hours a day. Others facing layoffs entirely. These employees have built their lives around serving this district, and they deserve better. This district is also asking to approve another resolution authorizing up to $25 million in short-term borrowing through a TRAN loan with interest rates up to 12%, along with transfers between district funds. I personally reached out to districts including Victor Elementary, Victor Union High, Hesperia, Snowline, Lucerne, Adelanto, Silver Valley, Oro Grande, Riverside Prep, and Barstow, and they all confirmed they are not pursuing similar borrowing resolutions. If this borrowing is necessary, then the community deserves full transparency regarding the financial obligations being made on behalf of this board. I also want to address, I know in the special board meeting, my letter to the board was brought up. And yes, I did address bringing in school services to do a financial review. Actually, it's called a budgetary analysis. I made sure to go back and watch and listen to Superintendent Nelson, and she wanted to bring in an outside fiscal expert to conduct a budgetary analysis. And I want to be clear, we are not suggesting any allegations of misappropriation of funds or anything like that. We just want to make it clear that we do not support them coming in if they're going to do a budgetary analysis, because that is who came against us in schools in fact finding and brought in, like I sent you all, the 23-24 data instead of current data. That has nothing to do with someone coming in to do the budget training in our negotiations. And I'm still confused because in the special board meeting, Superintendent Nelson, you then said budget training for the board. So I'm not quite sure what you all are voting on, if it's budget analysis or budget training. But that's neither here nor there. That's not our concern, because it would not put things to rest if school services came in to do a budgetary analysis. Okay. At my very first board meeting, I shared a quote that meant a great deal to me. It says, teamwork. Coming together is the beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. After that meeting, I framed it and put it in my office because I truly believed that what we were working towards in AVUSD was this: a district where board members, district leadership, educators, classified staff, and families were working together for students. And I still believe that vision. But we cannot continue down this path of division, dismissiveness, or deflection. We cannot continue making decisions that hurt classrooms while ignoring bigger financial concerns in front of us. Quite honestly, we cannot afford any more failures. Our students deserve better, our staff deserves better, and this community deserves better. We need Apple Valley Unified School District to get back to what it once was, a district people were proud to work in, proud to attend, and proud to support. And I truly hope we can get back there together. You'll be happy to hear this is my last board meeting of the year. I want to thank everyone who continued to attend the board meetings and show your support. It really means the world. And I want to thank President Scott for your support and your friendship throughout this entire time. It has meant a lot. President Scott even conducted the service for our Vice President, Adrian Forbes' husband, Mark Forbes, last Friday. And he did an outstanding job. And we really think that you showed up for her. Thank you. In solidarity, Karen.
All right, we're going to move on to the adoption of the agenda. The board may approve the agenda as is or add and/or pull items from the consent agenda for discussion and/or action. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda, the adoption of the agenda?
So moved.
All right, I'll second. We'll be taking a vote via roll call.
I'm sorry, excuse me real quick, President Buchanan. Is there any way we can have a little bit of discussion before we vote?
On adopting the agenda?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm concerned that this board is proceeding without agreed upon rules of order. And according to the Rosenberg's Rules of Order, quote, "Rules are meant to create an atmosphere where the members of the body and the members of the public can attend to business efficiently, fairly, and with full participation." I know at times we were provided clarity on rules by Kylie Caudell. Kylie, what rules of order were you referencing?
I'm not sure what you're referring to,
Oh,
of what I
whenever,
provided you.
yeah, whenever you let us know what direction we should take or what we need to do first or second, that's what I was referring to
That's just to be compliant with the Brown Act.
with the Brown Act. Okay, thank you. Most school boards in the United States generally follow Robert's Rules of Order. President Buchanan, it is your responsibility to facilitate these meetings. Without rules, that must be difficult. In the best interest of students, we must have rules. Motions made and seconded by any member of this body should be considered and voted upon. It's basic parliamentary procedure. In light of the repeated cure and corrects, and in hope of avoiding any possible future litigation, I move that we, as a board, formally adopt Robert's Rules of Order as a shared structure to conduct the business of this district.
I'll
Okay,
second.
point of order. We had this discussion at the last board meeting, and then we had board consensus that when we have CSBA come in and do our governance training, that is going to be one of the first priorities.
I'm concerned that we have a lot of decisions to make, and we're not considering the idea that we need to have rules of order governing our meetings. I made a motion. I believe it was just seconded. Can we call for a vote?
I cannot because I already called for the vote on the motion that was seconded first.
I'm sorry, can you clarify?
Yes, on a motion made by Maria Akpara and seconded by Amanda Buchanan, we moved to adopt the agenda. And then I called for the vote and I called on you and you said you wanted to have discussion about the adoption of the agenda.
Yes. So before we adopt the agenda, I think it's important that we acknowledge common rules of order. As is basic parliamentary procedure, when you have a motion on the floor to consider something, subsequent motions can be made. This is according to Robert's Rules of Order. This is according to Rosenberg's Rules of Order. It's according to basic parliamentary procedure. If we just call for a vote and aren't allowed to make any additional motions, this body is not heard.
I hear you. Can I get your vote on the first motion to adopt the agenda, please?
I'm concerned that this motion is not being considered. When would be an appropriate time to make an motion?
When we have CSBA here, we're going to work through this as a board and adopt our governance handbook, and we're going to go through our policies and our procedures. You keep referencing that we have cure and corrects. Superintendent Nelson, have any of the cure and corrects been founded? No. Okay, so
No.
yes, we're getting them, but our legal team is saying that they are unfounded.
Yes, I understand, but it is important to have rules in order to have an efficient meeting. I'm not sure why this is being resisted so much. It seems to me, being a basketball player, I could not imagine playing a game without rules. It just would be chaos. As we just made up things as we went. It's important we all have a basic understanding of rules in this room. My hope is this board will see reason, and especially as we move forward with these next few board meetings, that it is important as we make these decisions for this district and in light of what's best for students, that we all understand basic parliamentary procedures and that we all can be participating in any direction we give. It's your responsibility, President Buchanan, to call for a vote on this.
Okay, can I get a vote on the adoption of the agenda? Mrs. Longshore. Mr. Raleigh.
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker.
Aye.
Ms. Akpara.
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan, aye. All right, we have no recognition at this meeting, and we have no discussion information items, board comments. So we're going to come back to you, Mrs. Longshore.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry.
Could you repeat that?
Board comment.
Board
We're at
comments.
board comments, and I brought it back to you.
Oh, thank you, President Buchanan. I appreciate that. I love AVUSD and all it has to offer this time of year. Our district is a flurry of excitement and activity, and it's such a joy to watch our children do their thing. Thank you to each one of you who posted, reached out, and invited this board to be part of your activities. I had the pleasure of attending Granite Hills High School's Little Shop of Horrors, celebrated our Certificated Employees of the Year, visited Apple Valley High School students as they worked in the kitchen, and even joined them this morning at the farmer's market. I applauded students who participated in the talent show at Phoenix Academy. I celebrated Cinco de Mayo with Vanguard Prep and joined Granite Hills High School students as they cheered on Hesperia Unified School District's first performance of Shrek the Musical in their beautiful new facility. I would also like to thank each of you for continuing to show up. I know it's been a long year, and I appreciate you continuing to support the important work we do here every month. I brought some cookies to share. At the back, feel free to help yourselves to a plate. And if you don't want all 5 cookies, feel free to share. You'll have to excuse me, I had a hard day. Had to help a friend move after he had to leave Apple Valley because he could not find a place to stay. He could barely walk. You might remember him, the same gentleman that got thrown from our board meeting last year, painfully shuffling his feet as he received a police escort out. It took everything just to show up, and you never gave him the chance to talk. Do you know why he was here? Simply to ask a few questions. He wrote an email and then delivered a cure and correct, asking AVUSD to explain. After no clarity was provided, he showed up and was thrown out and never given the opportunity to speak. I'd like to say that was the end of it, but it's simply not true. A year later, flyers were distributed with his picture on it, stating a possible recent threat. But the truth is, after that board meeting, he never came back. Somehow, someone created an alternate reality, prompting a valued employee to express great fear. He was a private citizen, a disabled man. Today, I call to account whoever did this. Can you imagine what happens to anyone else who might try to speak up? Rest assured, people talking about a problem is never the problem. We must talk, or it can never be resolved. That's why it's important to keep the conversation going. This district has allocated $100 million of additional spending, according to fact-finding and our 2026 second interim report. In 4 years, Hesperia Unified built a state-of-the-art performing arts community building. Victor Elementary offered a significant incentive for teachers to become reading specialists. And Victor Union High School District lowered class sizes significantly while increasing teacher pay. But AVUSD increased spending so much on management, we now have to shortchange staff, fill classrooms to the brim, and RIF classified to their bare bones. This did not need to happen. It's not what the community wants, and it most certainly isn't in the best interest of our kids. But some allow it. Don't tell me you're here for the kids while supporting this administration dismissing concerns of staff that serve them every day. Don't tell me you're here for the kids as you allow favoritism, denying equitable access to programs and events. Don't tell me you're here for the kids while barring access to data and embracing willful ignorance, all while making decisions that negatively impact our schools. We have been torn apart from the inside. Lies spread behind the scenes have created division and distrust. Plans are carefully constructed while this board is not properly informed. Superintendent Nelson, who gave you direction to pursue CSBA training?
It's board comments, so your comment is.
These are comments.
Your informational comment.
I asked the question in an email and never received a reply. Mr. Raleigh chose to spend close to $10,000 on our last review. Where is that data? I echo Trustee Tucker's request to wait for it before we spend more. Maybe until after November. You never know. Things might change. We need to provide accountability and oversight, especially in light of everything we've been through this year. It's not a game. These are people's lives. And the public is watching. Let's do something different. As we end this school year and look forward to summer break, I want to thank our employees for a job well done. Rest, relax, and enjoy. I think despite everything, you're still here, finishing strong, and have all the hope in the world for our children and AVUSD. Thank you.
Rick Raleigh,
No comments.
Anita Tucker.
Good evening. I've been able to go to a couple of things that were very uplifting this past month. The MDCP Film Festival, and seeing the amazing work our students have accomplished in both Apple Valley and Granite Hills received awards. I was able to celebrate Cinco de Mayo celebration at Vanguard. The students really excelled with music, dancing, and the staff and the parents filled the gym, really filled the gym, supporting our students. And I was really honored to be able to see our AVID students recognized through RIMS AVID and celebrate their achievements along with their teachers. As a former AVID teacher, it's really powerful to see how many students were there to celebrate and people to support them. AVID works to provide the skills for students to ensure that they incorporate rigor, writing, and critical thinking, and allows them to be accepted and successful in university. And seeing the joy and the happiness of our students, that really made my day yesterday. Today, I was really happy to walk with Miss Beebe and her students and Granite students who were able to shop for fresh vegetables to cook, buy some delicious treats at the farmer's market. And it was really a joy to have some time and opportunity to be with them. May is Asian American, Native, Hawaiian, and Pacific Islander Heritage Month, and we honor the very rich history, culture, and contributions, as well as the diverse experiences that are woven into our shared story and vital to our collective future. I would like to honor our hardworking principals and assistant principals at this board meeting. May 1st, we honor our principals who guide our schools and have the abilities to make a small amount of money and time seem to cover everything that our staff and students need. April 6th through 10th, we honor our assistant principals who seem to be everywhere all at once, making sure that the needs of our students and staff are met, meeting with parents, and supporting our teachers. The guidance of our hardworking administrative teams is vital to the success of all our students. Thank you. This week is also National Teacher Appreciation Week. Our teachers put in endless hours to perfect their lesson plans, support their students, reach out to parents and families, and work to make their classrooms a welcoming place where love and learning happen. Teachers are the ones you see at 9:55 at night at the store buying 180 pink index cards for their lesson tomorrow, or a piñata that looks like Napoleon, or extra granola bars to make sure that their students have a snack, because students are always hungry. Students always remember those teachers who go above and beyond to make learning fun, engaging, and meaningful. Thank you so much for all you do. We also celebrate and thank our nurses this week as we celebrate Nurses Day on May 6th, yesterday, and National Nurses Week from May 6th to 12th. Your dedication and support of all our students' physical and mental needs are vital to our students' success. Our parents and families feel so much better knowing that you are there for our students. Thank you for your care, dedication, and support for all our students and staff. On May 17th to 23rd, we honor and recognize the contributions of our classified employees. Our classified employees are up before the sun to ensure our buses are ready to roll and pick up students. They are the ones who prepare the meals so our students are well nourished throughout the day, and they work late hours making sure that our campuses are clean and sparkling for our students each day. They answer thousands of calls from parents, meet with them, ensure that our attendance is recorded, our computers are working, work one-on-one with our students to help them better understand math and reading concepts, keep our campuses safe, and so much more. You make a huge difference for our students, our staff, and our families. Thank you so very much for everything you do. I'd also like to say thank you to all the mothers. Mother's Day is coming up, and those of us who are mothers, maybe not by children by birth, but by children of the heart, who are there to support our children. Thank you. May is also a month of endings and beginnings. In May, we stand at the threshold, not quite finished with our past, but looking ahead to the future. We end the school year. All the dedication and hard work of our students and staff come to culmination with the end of the year. With promotions and with graduations, we say goodbye to 2025 and 26. However, with each ending comes a new beginning. Our graduates go onward to universities, careers in the military. Our students are promoted from one comfortable and familiar grade to the next, looking forward and well prepared for the challenges and excitement of the upcoming year. We celebrate retirements from our staff who dedicated many years to support our students and have earned a well-deserved retirement to spend with their families. I wish all of our graduates, students, and staff the very best wishes as we make the change from ending one year to the excitement of starting another. Congratulations on all your successes. We look forward to hearing about your next journey, with hopefully taking a small piece of Apple Valley Unified School District with you. Thank you.
Maria Akpara.
Well, I'm going to start by wishing all the mothers happy Mother's Day. It is always a pleasure to be surrounded by your children and to be surrounded by the children you didn't birth, but they're your children. We wish you the very best for Mother's Day, and I hope you enjoy every moment of it. During this month, between the last board meeting and this board meeting, I never can keep track of what I do, so I sit here and I try to jot it down. I was able to go to MDCP Gala. I didn't know the date it was going to be, but I showed up anyhow. After I looked in the calendar, I was like, ooh, I got to go. It was a real pleasure to see how many of our students were recognized and publicly recognized and given the award. I had the opportunity to go to Cinco de Mayo at Vanguard. Every year I ask somebody to get me an authentic outfit so that I can wear it on that authentic day. But every year I come up short. So I'm hoping somebody is listening today to get me one, and I'll pay for it because I really want to dress the part for whatever the events are. But it was such a pleasure to see that. I had the opportunity to go to the AVID award, that is RIMS, Riverside, Indio, Mono, and San Bernardino counties. And we had our children be recognized, and it was such a joy when they announced Apple Valley in that sea of kids, in that space. If you all know, when you are in a group photograph, I don't care how many people are in the group, you're looking for you. So in that group picture, I was just looking for Apple Valley. That's all I cared about. They announced all of the districts, but I'm still looking for Apple Valley. And once they came in, it was perfect for me. I could see the kids get so happy. I also participated in the International Children's Day. This was our first time that the board had a booth. I'm hoping that we'll continue to do this every year. It was a new experience for me. I've never been in a booth, so I didn't get the opportunity to run around like I normally would, going from one booth to the other or trying to sample something, but it was such a joy just to see that many number of kids and families come out to celebrate the International Children's Day. I also had the opportunity to go to a Candy Cane Dance or Candyland Dance at Apple Valley High School that is put together for the students with special needs. And it was such a joy just to see so much candy sitting there and the kids having the opportunity to help themselves to the candy. It was so joyful. And of course, today I went to the farmer's market. To just see the joy in their faces as they move around between the little shops in the farmer's market. Now, having said all of that, I wanted to also take the time to appreciate the speakers today, the children who came and spoke to us, and the adults who also had the opportunity to speak to us. It is not easy to hear people tell you what you are not doing right. It's a lot of joy to see people share what they are learning in their school. But it's not easy to listen to somebody tell you, you missed a step here or you missed a step there. But it takes a bigger person to say, I accept, and I'll do better. It takes a whole lot of bigger person to do so. And so I'm going to go back to last board meeting. And I sat here and I listened when I was accused of something that I didn't say. And I will accept the things I said. At no point, I'll start with the things I said. I appreciated the young man that will come every time to speak to us. For me, it's heartwarming to see a kid stand up for what they believe in. I respect that. I want that. I want any kid who has anything to say to us to be able to feel safe to share with us, to tell us what they think. So I accept that. And I have always said I always say the kid because I didn't know his name. And it's not because I didn't want to learn his name, but I I have a term of endearment for all kids. When I see them, I have a name for everyone. And it's not because their name don't matter. Their names do matter. But I called him the kid, okay? And I appreciated him. I appreciated what he had to say. I appreciated the fact that he came every time to speak. But at no time, and I want to be sure that everybody is aware of it, at no time did these lips of mine ever call him lazy. And you can go back to the recording, but at no time did I use those words. I can never. I believe in respect. I'll respect the kid, I'll respect the adult, I'll respect somebody who doesn't respect me, but I'll respect you. I have been on this seat for 8 years, and the one thing that is a trademark of mine is I cannot stand disrespect. All of you know about it. If you disrespect somebody, I will tell you, that's not the way you go about it. So I want to be very clear that we have that understanding that I will never disrespect a kid, and I will never disrespect the parent. My job is to be able to be of service. And if I have wronged anybody, I'm assuming, I'm appealing to you to find me. I am not unapproachable. Find me, talk to me. And when you've talked to me, if I still am unapproachable, then go public with it. But when you go public with it, you have taken it out of my hands. So I wanted to make sure that I set the record straight today, that at no time did I use the word lazy, and at no time did I call the kid by name. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, May is definitely a crazy busy month with everything going on at all of the schools. I just wish there was a way to be at multiple things at the same time. I'm going to start with the talent show at Phoenix Academy that Trustee Longshore referenced. It was so great. That was my second year attending, and the kids never cease to amaze me. Especially, you can tell, like, they always seem to have in their mind like retro themes, which is basically like when I was in high school. I refuse to believe that was that long ago, but the kids get up there and they dance and they sing, and I just a huge thank you to their parents for giving them a good love of music background. And I also got to see the new screens at the school, which looked great. I saw them on my way out. I also went to Little Shop of Horrors, and the thespians at Granite Hills are just amazing. Every year I think, oh no, these kids are graduating. Is it still going to be as good? And it's always just as good. Like it just comes up, and I'm sure that's also probably from Phoenix with the feeder school, and they've got that going on. But it's just, there's a lot of talent in this district. Funny side note, my mother sent me some flowers for Mother's Day. They came yesterday from like 1-800-Flowers, but they were like bulbs in a pot. And I took it out, and there's like all this like, I don't know, raffia type stuff. And then they were yellow, like sticks intertwined, but I think they're probably tulips. And my oldest, who went to Little Shop of Horrors, said, if that plant says feed me Seymour, I am out of here. So I did remove the stuff and gave it some water last night, and they were perked up this morning. They looked much more plant-like. Also was at the Avid Senior Recognition last night down in Ontario at the Toyota Center. It was my first time attending. It was amazing. Like I could not believe how many kids were there. There was 3,200 seniors within the 4 counties that are Avid graduates. I did kind of laugh at them, that all the kids would take turns kind of teasing about TFIs. And if you've done Avid, you know, it's maybe not a favorite, but the person that co-created it was sitting on the stage, and she took it well. I also went to the prom, the SH prom over at Apple Valley High School. I don't think I told Trustee Akpara, but I was warned on my way in that I was going to have to try and get you off the dance floor. So I did make the mistake, though, of taking a picture of the candy bar that Mrs. Knox was running, and I made the mistake of showing my daughter, who now wants a candy bar at her birthday party with all the different candies. So I may be calling Mrs. Knox to find out how to do that. The county multicultural recognition dinner awards was also this month, and I got to go and attend that and sit at our table with some of our district employees that were being recognized, and that was just, it was a great night. I definitely enjoyed all the student speakers, and it was lovely. After that, there was also the San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools hosted their countywide performing arts showcase. So I got to see the Granite actors and actresses again, and that was also just as good. Although I did share with Mr. Churchill that I was hoping that the Audrey 2 was there and they were going to bring it out on stage because it was so fantastic, but I guess it didn't fit through the door on the bus. So International Children's Fair was fantastic. It's always great. That was my 4th one attending. I'm so glad that we did have a booth. We had little bracelets that the kids could make. They had the Horton Here's a Who, and they would have little phrases on them like, do you remember any of them? They were about kindness or a friend to the end. So it was really sweet. We also had some multicultural bookmarks, and that just really stressed the importance of diversity. It seemed to be a hit, as well as all the snacks, but it was definitely a hit. We had a cute little boy come over with his face painted by someone from High Desert Premier, and he was a lion, and he was like, "Roar." That was adorable. And then we also, because we were there early to set up, we got to go out and see the Black Hawk helicopter, which was fantastic, and we got to climb in and sit in it. But the best part was the pilot was actually a graduate of Apple Valley High School, and he said he was a student here when it was the junior high. And so Marie and I both got a picture with him because we thought that was pretty cool that the pilot that brought it in was a graduate of Apple Valley. And then finally, yes, so we did have Coast to Coast, and I did, I think we got the original email on October 7th. I was trying to find it. And I did send an email saying, hey, if funds permit, this is something I'd be interested in. And I was booked. Probably about January or February, we had a meeting, and I did meet with the superintendent to find out whether or not I should not go. And we decided that we would lose too much if I did not attend. And then was speaking with another member of the board. It was agreed that because I am a delegate for CSBA as well as the board president, that I was the right person to represent us. We had some new federal priorities that we were able to address while we were there. As always, we requested, I know you'll appreciate, fully funding IDEA, which our congressman is in favor of, but he also understands that what's going to get cut, and so that's kind of always been a sticking point. I spoke to him a lot about protecting Title I, as well as our student support programs, and did request that Congress would provide at least $20 billion for Title I programs coming up. I know last year we were pushing a lot on E-rate, and I do know that because of our advocacy when we were there. Do you remember how much extra? I don't remember. We got a huge amount, though, extra in the E-rate funding. Some new priorities were protecting student online safety, and really trying to protect their data. We also wanted to speak with him, and we're lucky in that he does have a background in technology, but supporting responsible AI in education. And then we also had a couple members speak about strengthening career technical education. As we've heard multiple times tonight, like that is so important. And so to make sure that we're still getting that bipartisan support and bringing that funding back to California is definitely going to be helpful, as well as securing the rural schools. We just thanked for that one because it has been supported. Make sure. I think that was it on that. I'll save that because I was going to do it as an update at the second one, but I will stick it in there. And then, yeah, so it's May. So just thank you to all of our staff. As Trustee Tucker was saying, you know, it started with the principals. And then, of course, we have Teacher Appreciation Week, followed by our Classified Appreciation Week. The schools cannot run without any of you, and you are appreciated. And I just wanted to say thank you for all that you do. And then that is it for me. So Superintendent Nelson, you're up.
So I won't go back through all of the things that the board has attended that I have also attended, but there's a couple call outs on this. The second annual MDC Film Festival, photography best in show. This was the first year that they added photography, and Bri McGlinte, a student from day one in our district as an elementary student all the way up, took best in show. And then competitive capture went to the Granite Hills High School team, having to do with the construction trades and being out there with all of the other districts that were filming. So congratulations to Granite Hills High School on that. Adult educate, well, let me then go over to Apple Valley High School. While it was shared earlier, we are proud of the Construction Industry Educational Foundation Design Build Competition. 585 students participated, 39 teams. And this is not just high school students. First place, People's Choice Award went to the shed that looks like a dog from Apple Valley High School. It's amazing. So I think those two things go very nicely together. Our adult education program went through their first WASC cycle, and they've been granted a 6-year WASC accreditation, and they will have a midterm visit, but that's amazing that they, first time around. And then we've had lots of celebrations already this month, and a lot that were coming. Tonight's retirees, Teresa, Tammy, Sherry, Martis, Dennis, Kent, Holly, hard for me to say Holly and not just Profe, Earl, Cheryl, and Cynthia, they have made lasting impressions in my heart and the work that they've done. Profe was one of my children's teachers in high school. The Killians, just, it's going to be strange to not have a Killian at Apple Valley High School after all of these years. And I said to Sherry when she came through, I remember the day we hired her. She was coming from private education to public, and what a win for us to have her in kindergarten and starting with those really young students. And then Tammy and I worked very closely together over the years. So there's just a bond, and it's hard when people commit their lives to this profession and then they go off and get to retire and do the wonderful things that they're going to do in retirement, but they're appreciated. This week, we did a milestone that we haven't done often. We gave a 40-year apple at Rancho Verde School to Lester Tompkins, the custodian who started there when he was 18 years old. And he's never left Rancho Verde. There's a lot of people that might get a 40-year apple. There's some, not a lot. But they don't stay at the same school. They don't stay doing the same work, and Lester has done that. He says he's got a few more years in him, and we appreciate that. But I think those are the things that we have to reflect on and realize are amazing. as we're recognizing within our own district the outstanding service that people have provided. Ms. Okpara was named Outstanding Special Education University Supervisor from Cal State San Bernardino, so congratulations on that. And I appreciate Trustee Tucker talking about all of the groups that we're recognizing this month, specifically teachers, classified, nurses, administrators, and co-administrators. Because without all of those roles, those students, that's why we're here. We're here for all of those kids, and we need every single role to make that happen. But there's one to add to that. And I can't believe you didn't get it because you have them all. This Friday, tomorrow, is Communicators Day. And so I just want to make sure that we realize that we have a single role in this district, Zoe Widener, who does a lot to communicate out positive things that happen in each and every classroom and on campuses and throughout the district. And so she's not here right now. I wish I had had the opportunity earlier to say this publicly while she was here, but she'll hear it later. And then finally, our staff appreciation ice cream social is next week, and we hope everybody will come out and have a scoop and enjoy. And if the weather will hold, it'll be worth it. Right? Thank you.
Do we have any public comments?
Yes, there is one this evening.
Okay. As provided on our public comment card, speakers are requested to limit comments to a maximum of 3 minutes. If more than one person wishes to speak on the same topic, subsequent speakers should limit their remarks to new information only. Public comment shall be limited to a maximum of 20 minutes per item. Key and Peak.
Sup, party people? Oh, it's this one? All right, sup, party people. Good evening, Superintendent Nelson, members of the board, those in attendance and watching. Shout out to the girls that are swimming CIF. Hey, congrats on 13th overall. Hopefully I can join them next year in the 100 breast. I just got to cut 1 second for consideration. But man, D4 is hard. Today I've been cheering them on, preparing for the end of the year. Getting ready for my senior year and AP tests. I got APUSH tomorrow and then AP Langen composition next week. So all while fighting some kind of crud, but I think I got over it. So yeah, that's the life of a student who's always stuck to his phone and not listening to his irresponsible parent, unable to get up, as some might say and believe. Anyways, I want to try and keep tonight pretty quick and to the point. Again, thank you for your time and allowing me to speak each month. I've been here at each meeting the entire school year. That's 10 months. I've done my research and I brought it to you. I've spoken to students, parents, teachers, and staff across the district. Hell, my content has even become a pretty big social media debate with, posts from the Voice of Apple Valley. For the most part, my argument is about following the law and implementing SB 328 has been supported more than it has not. As my mom would have continued last month before you guys cut her mic, I do have a considerable amount of support. There are a multitude of teachers, staff, parents, and students across the district that support me. Not only this district, but others as well. Just because they choose to not come and sit through these long meetings doesn't mean that I don't have support. That being said, I've brought to you 10 months worth of plea, 10 months worth of research, 10 months worth of consistency, and reminding you that you are here to serve the students of this district. As I approach my senior year and plan to have no first period for my own health benefits, I'm not yet sure what next year will bring, but I hope that my time with you this year continues to serve as a reminder and you eventually see that a later high school start time is better for the health and welfare of the students today, the students of tomorrow, and the students for years to come. As we all look forward to a restful summer break, see you next year. Have a pleasant night.
Thank you. All right, we will now conduct a public hearing to receive comment on the California Schools Healthy Air, Plumbing, and Efficiency, or CalShape, Ventilation Services Contract. I now open the public hearing at 8:52 to receive comment on the California Schools Healthy Air, Plumbing, and Efficiency, or CalShape, Ventilation Services Contract. Mr. Schulenberg.
Yeah, well, thank you, President Buchanan. Again, this is a public hearing just to gather input. You'll see later on the agenda, there is a resolution for the board's consideration. This CalShape funding is monies collected at the state from utility companies that is then allocated out to school districts for plumbing and ventilation projects. And this would be phase 2 under the CalShape ventilation services as we are getting ready to wrap up phase 1. And we already did our plumbing CalShape also.
Are there any questions or comments from members of the board regarding the California Schools Healthy Air, Plumbing, and Efficiency Ventilation Services Contract? Are there any public comments regarding the California Schools Healthy Air, Plumbing, and Efficiency Ventilation Services Contract?
I have received no cards.
Okay. Hearing no further public comment, I now close the public hearing to receive comment on the California Schools Healthy Air, Plumbing, and Efficiency Ventilation Services Contract at 8:53 p.m. All right, discussion action session. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees discuss and take action on the following items. 1, adopt resolution number 2526-16, final resolution terminating services of certificated positions as a result or reduction or discontinuance of particular kinds of services. I will go ahead and make the motion. Can I get a second? Is there any discussion?
I do have some questions.
Okay.
In the 11 FTEs, it says those were eliminated vacant positions. And I was curious how much money had been budgeted this year for those vacant positions?
Were you able to get that question to them in advance, or do you know the answer off the top of your head down there?
I would have to look up the, whether or not they were on admin hold or built into the budget in order to answer that. I don't know if they were already budgeted expenditures for this year. And would I look, are you curious about like an adopted budget, first interim, second interim? I can get clarity that way.
I guess just, looking at the cost for vacant positions that we were maybe setting money aside for. I'm not sure with as far as any salary or any sort of health insurance, that sort of thing.
Yeah,
I appreciate you looking into it. So when we look at these 11 positions, have they been there for a while, like over time, or is this something that they were just vacated?
Yes, each will have their own story. I mean, I could speak to the dean. I know we started the school year with the dean at Phoenix Academy, and that position went unoccupied shortly after the start of the year. So that's a position that each one will have some sort of story to it. I would have to get the story though.
Okay. Yes, even we can look at just general, not exact. I would appreciate it. Also, the 18 FTEs that we're looking at here on certificated, it says reduced or eliminated. So if reduced, will these now become vacant positions, budgeted vacant positions?
No, the purpose of resolution is to cut them out of our system. they would be eliminated.
Okay. Thank you. And I just wanted to also point out that I encourage this board and administration to consider all 427 positions that were added during the time of temporary funds, many administrative, with our community's request that cuts be made far away from the classrooms and school sites. Most of these positions, in this one and the next, directly affect kids. I just wanted to point that out. Thank you.
Are there any other discussion or questions?
Oh, sorry, one more question. How many district nurses will we have left after this? Does anyone know that?
How many what?
District nurses will be left? I know it has 4 on here. I'm just trying to keep my numbers straight.
Are you talking registered nurses under the
LVNs.
certificate?
LVN.
No, LVNs would be classified.
Okay, so district nurses,
District nurses, we will have 3 left.
we'll have 3. Thank you.
All right, we will be taking a vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore?
I abstain.
Mr. Raleigh? Aye. Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
And Mrs. Buchanan, aye. Item 2, adopt resolution number 2526-17, final resolution terminating services of classified positions as a result of reduction or discontinuance of particular kinds of services due to a lack of work and/or lack of funds. Can I get a motion?
Move it.
I'll second it.
All right. On a motion by Rick Raleigh and seconded by Maria Akpara, is there any discussion?
I have
Do-
some.
I do have a question. After hearing from the CSEA president, I'm assuming that they have come to a conclusion that this is the right direction to go. Correct?
It was taken to their unit and it was ratified.
Okay. That's why I'm voting for it. Okay.
Okay,
Trustee Longshore?
Yes, thank you, President Buchanan. This is heavy on me, and I just want our community to know that I see you. We have 19 layoffs of classified staff through this resolution. 13 of you lost both hours and insurance. 6 moved positions. And 216 lost hours and/or days, anywhere from 30 minutes to several hours. You're not just a number to me. I see you and my heart grieves for your loss. I do have a couple questions. Part of these cuts are 59 vacant classified positions. After these cuts, are there any more classified vacant positions left in AVUSD?
That's a hard one to answer. We get, unlike the certificated staff, the classified staff has not necessarily a, heavy August to May kind of hiring and leaving the system. It is possible that, I sign resignations weekly, that we analyze each of those resignations and determine whether or not it is something that needs backfill, something that might need to be offered in modified backfill, or something that maybe grabs off of the layoff list to attempt to restore to whole. It just depends case by case, situation by situation. I would anticipate additional vacancies occurring based on resignations moving forward.
Thank you. As I looked at page 9 on the memorandum of understanding by and between Apple Valley Unified School District and the California Schools Employees Association, and it's Apple Valley Chapter 828, dated April 21st, 2026. On page 9, it references a staff being fully funded once by the unrestricted general fund, and now they are being moved to split funded with restricted and unrestricted funds. My question for these positions, it's listed PC number 2 CSEECA 0044 through 2SOAE 49001. Which restricted funds are being used for these positions?
For that particular group, I think all of them will be through ELOP funding, serving students in the after-school hours.
Thank you. And then just directly below that, it says, following positions shall be discontinued, being funded by the general fund. They'll be reestablished as categorical funds to ADSC 20014 through 2WARE HM 001. Which categorical funds are being used for this grant?
This one, if memory serves me, is the LREBG combined with community school.
Except for the top one.
The top one is, the top one, admin secretary 2. That one is a mixture of CYBHI.
ELOP and Title I. Sorry.
It's his department.
Yeah.
California Youth. Yeah.
So the top position will be categorically funded as long as we have ELOP and Title I funds to fund that position, with some responsibilities changing, particularly and focused on helping to recover the attendance recovery funds. The other positions listed as family center coordinator all the way down to the warehouseman, that was submitted as part of our LCAP as dual funded between the LREBG, the Learning Recovery Emergency Block Grant, which will pay for one of the family center coordinators, but that funding cannot go to one position. It will go to several in portions in order to fully serve families across the entire district. And the remaining portions will be from the community schools grants from those various school sites as reported to our LCAP committee. The warehouseman will be LREBG funded for the term of that grant, which is 2 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And of the ones just directly under that, the district shall permanently discontinue the following positions. Are any of those positions currently filled?
Yes, definitely.
Absolutely.
Are any of those employees being transferred to another position?
Yes.
How many?
Well, you see on the resolution, when it names, let me go back. Let me go to final layoff list. If you look at the last page of the final layoff list, you will see a list of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 individuals that are laid off in totality. And if we cross-check that to the list on what you're referencing, it would be that number. Everybody else has either landed somewhere or could possibly have. That's what I just counted. That's the 11.
And then
Down at the bottom, these are folks that didn't accept another position somewhere else. They said, in lieu of me going to another school or doing something else, I'd just rather take the layoff.
Mm-hmm.
And that, those spots free up for others on the list too. It's quite a game of, I don't mean a game in an unsensitive way, but once one person goes, who's next to bump there and bump there and bump there and bump there. So it's quite a process of connecting the dots to get from one to the next.
Thank you. Those are all my questions.
Okay, thank you. We will be taking the vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore,
I abstain.
Mr. Raleigh,
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker,
Aye.
Ms. Akpara,
Aye.
Ms. Buchanan, aye. Alright, Number 3, approve the certificated and classified personnel actions as listed. I'll move it. Can I get a second?
Second.
All right, Mrs. Longshore, is there any discussion?
I just had a quick question if nobody else does.
Sure, go ahead.
So I noticed that on page 3, we have listed 2 licensed vocational nurses, the start date in March, paid 8 hours a day. Do you have the cost for that? Those positions, you could just do one of them?
No, I mean, I could look at the salary schedule and the classified employees to see, what range they are and I definitely know they're cheaper than third party. I can tell you that.
You're saving a lot.
But it's public. We can look at their range and I can get you the hourly rate right now.
Yes, well, you don't, no pressure right now, but if you could get that to me, I would appreciate it. Thank you.
It's on our website, so I can get that.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'll call for the vote. Mrs. Longshore,
Aye?
Mr. Raleigh.
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker,
Aye.
Ms. Akpara,
Aye.
Mrs. Buchanan, aye. Item 4, approve the purchase of the Axon body worn cameras. Let's see, I'll go ahead and move that.
A second.
All right, any discussion?
What's the total price?
Yeah, I can speak to that. Well, first of all, I just looked, LVNs start at $29.76 an hour. So that's before statutories and benefits and things like that. The body cam, it's broken over a 5-year plan of payment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it
Oh,
says
yeah, I can give you
initial will
exact.
be
Thank you. I was going to give you 30 and 15, but it is $31,931.46 for the first year, and then $15,332.59 for the subsequent 4 years.
15,000, not 18.
Yeah, grand total of $93,000 over 5.
I have a question.
Yes.
So in the past, I would assume that our officers have been accused of things, and the cameras would then provide clear description of whether or not, or what occurred. Do we have any information on money that we've spent on like investigations that might possibly be saved by the purchase?
Yes, I can share. I mean, because that is something, and I know I'm saying this publicly, and I'm going to round numbers here. So if we pull actual invoices, it might be off a few bucks one way or the other, but a selfish benefit to the HR world of investigating complaints against police officers. Police officers have a very, very strict and appropriate police officer bill of rights. The process you have to use to investigate a complaint against an officer is so different than anybody else in our system that it does come at a cost. And unfortunately, as somebody overseeing complaints, I can't even initiate a conversation without designating a full internal affair investigation. Sometimes those complaints come into us and I have nothing to go to except the officer. And if I have nothing to go to except the officer, quite often I have to go third party outside, especially for accusation of, say, excessive force. And I can use that example that I know affected a couple of our officers relatively recently. I think it was in the 24-25 school year. 100% fabricated, 100% unfounded. But we spent about $34,000 on an investigation that a body cam review would have, before any conversation with the officer, would have produced a closure letter and sent the investigation done, asked, answered, and complete without ever launching an IA process. I don't know if that makes sense, but what does it cost to investigate an allegation against an officer, unfounded or founded? I would expect no less than about $12,000, $13,000 per complaint. And if a body cam review saves us one, it made it up for the year. It's almost like, I'll compare this, and I'm probably speaking out of turn, but we have been aggressively seeking, the LVNs are a perfect example. We're trying to get rid of third party to have a reduction, have our own people do our work. Body cams, I can argue, are a very similar concept. I am avoiding third party accrued cost for inevitable investigations, warranted or not. That'll be rescued by that. But further, it is just an industry standard safety tool. It is a tool that protects them. It's a tool that in the middle of an extreme crisis has remote feature capabilities that an officer away from the station or the incident can view in and be extra eyes in real time, in the event of safety or things like that. So I mean, it is a safety tool in addition to a fiscal tool, I guess is what I'm trying to get at. My opinion.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion? All right, we'll take the vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
Mrs. Buchanan? Aye. Item 5, approve the recommendations for requested leave as noted. I'll go ahead and make the motion.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Okay. Sorry, I saw a finger go to a mic, so I wasn't sure. I was waiting. We'll go ahead and call for the vote. Mrs. Longshore?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
And Ms. Buchanan? Aye. Number 6, approve the recommendation of the administrative hearing chairperson effective immediately on, let's see, so we will make a motion to approve the recommendation of the administrative hearing chairperson effective immediately, on EXP number 20, 2025-26, and EXP number 21, 2025-26, revocation of expulsion case, step number 1, 2025-26, and annual review case AR number 19, 2025-26.
Second.
Okay, and a motion by Ms. Akpara, seconded by Ms. Tucker. We will be taking a vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
Mrs. Buchanan? Aye. Item number 7, sign a letter of support for the AVUSD Food Pantries application for the CSBA Golden Bell Award.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay. We've got Maria Akpara and the motion, I'm so sorry, hold on. And then the second was Anita Tucker.
Can I just say that we have applied multiple years for a California School Board's Golden Bell for the food pantry. We have not brought a letter of support from the board, and we're hoping that that tips the scales and gets that food pantry a Golden Bell. So
Here's hoping.
that's why we brought it, because in setting the agenda, Ms. Buchanan said, "Oh, you're applying." I said, "We have repeatedly." So we're hopeful.
Now we have it documented.
Yeah.
I was very excited to see this, and so I have fingers crossed that we're able to celebrate the incredible work that the team has done.
It's a long process too. Yeah. All right, any other discussion? Okay, call for the vote. Mrs. Longshore? Aye. Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
And Ms. Buchanan, aye. Item number 8, adopt resolution 2526-12 to authorize the necessary transfers and revision of budget appropriations during the 2026-2027 fiscal year. All right, I'll make the motion.
I'll second the motion.
Okay, motion by Ms. Buchanan, seconded by Mr. Raleigh. Discussion.
I have discussion. Anybody else? Okay. I wanted to bring up the fact that this resolution specifically states, whereas the governing board of Apple Valley Unified School District has determined that additional income is assured in excess of the amounts previously budgeted. And I would like to point out the fact that this seems to be an ongoing thing that I have brought to the attention of the public and this board, $20 million off roughly for the past 3 years. This concerns me. I believe this board has relinquished its responsibility long enough. We must provide oversight for the spending of public funds. We've been neglecting our duty to ensure internal control and board oversight. So I call on my board members to reject this resolution and step into the position that we've been elected to, and that is to keep a closer eye on funds and the transfer and spending of funds.
Okay.
Thank you.
I'm going to have a question for this one. What are the conditions under which you are able to do a transfer of funds without the board?
Well, with
That's
this
all I'm
resolution, Ms. Opara, this resolution gives business office staff, mainly the Director of Fiscal Services, to make those budget appropriation adjustments as we work through the year. The board oversight of those budget adjustments that are constantly made on both the revenue side and the expenditure side are the interim reporting periods and the budget financial reports that come to the board, not on a monthly basis, but on a regular basis, that show all of the accounts, all of the revenue accounts, and the net effect of all the budget transfers that are facilitated. That's the oversight. The board then ratifies those or approves those budget reports or approves those interim reports.
So as I read this, the one thing that keeps floating in my head is because the funds don't come to us all at once, right? Because they don't come to us all at once. Districts still need to function. So
Absolutely.
if the district still needs to function, we have to have the ability to shift funds to be able to allow us to continue to function until the funds that is earmarked for whatever it is that comes to us so that we can shift it. Is that what you're trying to explain?
Yeah, this particular resolution deals with budget. The budget is the revenues that we expect and the expenditures that we expect. Now, keep in mind, Cindy, my director of fiscal, or the district's director of fiscal services, is working on putting the budget together for next year right now, using a set of assumptions provided by school services, capital advisors, San Bernardino County Superintendent of Schools Business Advisory Services. So using those assumptions, we are going to bring a budget to the board next month. The first meeting, we'll have a hearing of the proposed budget. The second meeting will be to adopt that budget. But believe it or not, those estimates aren't going to be exact, either on the revenue side or the expenditure side. Our assumptions for LCFF revenue may need to be adjusted. So those are budget adjustments that are made as we gather more information as we move through the fiscal year. Also on the expenditure side, the personnel costs are budgeted based on positions as that system is rolled each payroll cycle. the budget is adjusted to make sure we have the budget allocation to cover personnel costs. School site funds, they may determine, well, they don't want to spend it in this particular object code. They need it in another object code. So that budget adjustment needs to be made so they can facilitate a purchase requisition and spend those funds in whatever object code they have determined. So this particular resolution allows those adjustments, those budget adjustments, to be made in a timely manner to allow the district to operate, to continue to operate. And then the oversight, again, as I mentioned, there's the budget financial report that comes to the board and the interim reports.
Thank you.
I do have a follow-up question. In terms of our funding, what we anticipate receiving, our revenues and our expenditures, these are things that can be anticipated based on past revenues and past spending. And I believe you, I think, Mr. Schulenberg, you confirmed that we do have a guarantee of some degree. So as far as being able to anticipate money coming in and money going out or being appropriated for each of these things, it's not an abstract idea per se. It can be relatively predicted.
Yes, we can relatively predict it, and adjustments are always necessary as we get into the actual fiscal year.
And so anything that is exceptional or outside of what we anticipated, that would be maybe few and far between. So then maybe at that point in time, this board could hear maybe those exceptional times and give direction on it. Correct?
Well, with this resolution being approved, we would facilitate those adjustments, and then those would be reported to the board either in the budget financial report or the interim reporting periods.
And the reason why I bring this up is because, you know, where we are in our current financial state in this district, what we've been doing hasn't been working. In fact, our finances are quite concerning. And doing the same thing and expecting different results, that's the definition of insanity. So understanding that we can anticipate revenue, we can anticipate spending based on prior practice. I encourage this board to consider that and provide more structure and provide more direction so that we can make good financial decisions and help this district make good financial decisions so that we can gather ourselves and handle the funds that we are being appropriated. Okay, thank you.
All right, you've kind of answered, I think, my questions as well, but I have 3.
Yes.
So the first one was, can you give us like an example in the past of how something, I feel like there was an adult ed example at some point, maybe, but like of what is a necessary transfer, because it's not necessarily, like the way I understood it when I was reading, it's not necessarily, we think we're going to get the money, but it's like, this is how much you're going to get, but we don't get it on day one, but we do have to pay people on day one. And so we can move it from somewhere.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Well, that actually is more
Am I looking
applicable
at the
to
wrong
a resolution you'll see a little later, which is the interfund cash transfer resolution,
Okay.
which allows us to transfer cash between funds when we have a cash shortage due to a delayed apportionment, either from the federal apportionment or a state apportionment. This resolution is all pertaining to budget. So if an account line does not have a sufficient budgeted amount and a purchase requisition against that account line is created, it will not work. It won't go through the system because there isn't a sufficient budget allocation. If a staffing line doesn't have a sufficient budget allocation, then that creates an error during the payroll process, and a budget transfer must be accomplished in a timely manner so staff is paid appropriately on the appropriate budget lines. And again, the oversight of the board is the board financial reports, the budget financial reports for the monthly periods and the interim reporting periods that display the net effect of all the budget transfers that occur on a daily basis.
Okay. Is there any type of requirement of putting the money back?
Again, this is budget.
Yeah, so I mean, it
if-
doesn't
if-
have to.
If money is budgeted in the, I'll say in the 4,000s, because that seems to be the account that everybody takes a look at. If money is budgeted to be spent in 4310, whether it's district allocated funds or site allocated funds, and a decision is made that that particular budgeted amount, the expense needs to occur, say in 4380, then the budget is adjusted. The allocated expenditure amount in 4310 is reduced, and it's increased in 4380 to cover the expense. This is all budget. It's not cash. So no, there is no requirement to put it back
Okay, thank
in
you.
the budget.
The other one is, okay. All right. Thank you. We'll be taking the vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore?
Nay.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
And Mrs. Buchanan, aye. Item 9, adopt resolution 2526-13, authorizing the participation in the California Cash Reserve Program and the issuance of 2026-2027 tax and revenue anticipation notes for the Apple Valley Unified School District and requesting the Board of Supervisors of San Bernardino County to issue said notes. I'll go ahead and make the motion. Can I get a second so we can have discussion?
I'll second it.
Okay. I did have one question because I know we approved this last spring.
Mhm.
Did we end up ever needing to use it?
We did not facilitate a TRAN in this fiscal year.
Okay, thank you.
So basically, what we are looking at is to approve it, and if we don't need it, we don't use it,
That
and we
is-
don't incur any interest on it. Is that what we are looking at?
I'm sorry I interrupted you, Ms. Okpara, but yes, that is accurate. With the adoption of this resolution, we will provide this resolution to the team at Dale Scott, who is the financial agent of this particular cash borrowing pool. And Cindy Kunkel, our Director of Fiscal Services, will work with the Dale Scott team to do a cash flow analysis, knowing what we know at this point, to see if we even qualify for a TRAN. Of course, before we do a TRAN, we exhaust any internal borrowing, which is the next resolution, the interfund borrowing, because it's cheaper to borrow from ourselves than it is a TRAN. But this merely gives us the opportunity to participate if the need is identified. In fact, I got an email from Mr. Farrell at Dale Scott earlier this evening asking if we had approved the TRAN resolution, and I let him know it was on our agenda for this evening for your consideration. And again, if that is approved, it will be given to Dale Scott, and Cindy will work with the team at Dale Scott to determine if we even qualify for one.
So the question I asked, before you cut in, because I was waiting, is if we got a TRAN and we didn't use it or we didn't tap into it, there will be no interest charged because we didn't, even though our district name is in the pipeline, we won't be charged anything unless we use it, correct?
Well, if through that cash flow analysis, it's determined that a TRAN will not be needed, then the process ends. If through that cash flow analysis, we determine, again, working with Dale Scott, that a TRAN is needed, then we do become part of the pool. That TRAN, this particular resolution authorizes up to $25 million of borrowing. It may only be 3 million or 5 million, or again, we utilize our internal borrowing first. But yes, if through that analysis it's determined a TRAN is needed, we are part of the pool. The funding would arrive in July. We would have that cash in the county treasury within our Fund 01. And when the delayed apportionments that have caused us to issue a TRAN arrive, that TRAN is paid back. But yes, at that point, once we participate and we borrow that money, there is a cost to the borrowing, yes.
So I'm thinking that if we are going through these growing pains of reduction in force, and, you know, that means we are going to be saving money from the reduction in force.
Mhm.
I'm just wondering why we would need to get a loan if we are reducing.
A particular loan, I'm sorry, Ms. Okpara, this type of loan is exactly what it is. It's a tax and revenue anticipation note. So as you mentioned earlier, we expect to receive so much money, but we don't get it all at once.
Correct.
The state apportions our cash out on a monthly basis or a quarterly basis, depending on exactly what cash. Then the federal government apportions cash out on their own timeline. So if we run into a cash shortage in the county treasury and say we come upon a payroll period and our cash in county treasury will not cover our payroll, they will not process our payroll. That's why we would have to do a TRAN to have that cash, again, through that cash flow analysis that Cindy would work with Dale Scott. If we're identified in a cash deficit, then a TRAN would cover that. And then when the apportionment arrives, we pay back the TRAN. Unfortunately, it's necessary when a cash shortage occurs. But again, we would exercise all internal cash borrowing prior to utilizing the TRAN.
You know, we've had this conversation before. We keep having it just about every year. My concern is that if we don't set that aside or we don't agree to it, then we run the risk of shutting down people that should be paid for the work they've done because we don't have the funds to pay them. And then bringing them back when we get the funds. That's not how you want to run an organization such as this. We need to be able to always have the funds to pay the people who are working and to be able to turn the lights on and all of that we need to be able to service the kids. So I'm just, my final question is, when was the last time we tapped into it and actually used it?
Used a TRAN?
Yeah.
I would have to research that, but it's been several years since we
keep
used
having it in the book, but we
since
don't use it.
since we used a TRAN.
Okay, thank you very much.
I do have some questions. According to our second interim report, our district has roughly $43 million of non-voter approved debt. This was only roughly $17 million that last year's second interim report. How did we increase to $43 million?
Do you have any questions about the item we're discussing, the TRAN?
This is in relationship because that is debt that we already have that increased at a $26 million over this last year that I've asked exactly why and what caused that. And I think it's valid that as a board member and this board is informed of why our non-voter approved debt went up $26 million just from last year if we did not facilitate a trans loan.
Yeah, and that information is contained in the audit report, and I do believe was contained in an email that you received earlier today. That answers that question.
Are you not able to answer on the spot?
I can read you what was sent in the email.
Isn't it confidential?
Thank you.
It was confidential.
It's confidential. I
But
think it was
that piece is
confidential.
not confidential.
It's not confidential, it's all
There's content in there that is not producible, but
Okay.
Because I think,
answer about
yeah, because I think going up, having and incurring $26 million in debt this year, that's That's a significant amount of money, especially as we're considering giving a green light for another possible $25 million Tran loan. As a board member, I need to know. Because as a district, I believe we need to learn to live within our means. From my measly house, I always talk to you about my budget. We don't spend money we don't have. That's not a good practice, fiscally speaking. And to do it on repeat makes even less sense. So I do know that we have made quite a habit as a district these last 6 years to take out high interest loans, 2 COPS loans, correct, Mr. Schulenberg?
One COP and one that is considered a private placement debt.
Okay, and then now this $26 million that we increased in non-voter approved debt, and now we're considering a $25 million Tran loan. This is a lot of money, and I'm fully aware of that as a sitting board member, but just as a human being alone. And I think we need to accept responsibility as a board for this idea and this accepted practice that we've kind of adopted on repeat now to take out high interest loans or even give a green light for it to potentially happen. Because if we as a board give a green light, we as a board are giving permission for that spending. Instead, I want to encourage us to really think about what does it take to live within our means and what are the steps we have to take to get there. Because right now we have $63 million in reserves spread out throughout our unaudited actuals, 24, 25 unaudited actuals, and I know I've pointed that out, that we could pull from for any emergencies prior to even considering a trans loan. So I just don't think there's a dire circumstance from my perspective, in my opinion, where I sit. And then I also am concerned that neighboring districts have not adopted this way of spending and getting loans, and they have over $200 million each in reserves. So they don't even have to think about taking out a COPS loan or another high interest loan or even breach the idea of taking out a trans loan, let alone year after year. So if we want ABUSD to find its fiscal footing, we need to make different decisions than we've been making. We need to not make borrowing a comfortable or a normal idea. We need to instead look at our spending and reconsider. Maybe this would be a good time to bring someone in to look at our spending and see where we can make some understanding of the reason why we're spending so much money and not saving. But I do think, and coming back to that second interim report, the increase of $26 million from last second interim report, were you able to find that?
Yes.
Okay, I'm ready.
President Buchanan, that particular question doesn't pertain to the item at hand, but I'll be more than happy to explain the increase in our non-voter approved debt if that's the pleasure. I can do that.
Would you guys like that explanation?
I can do it real quickly.
Okay.
Yeah, I can do it really quickly.
Okay.
What Trustee Longshore is referring to as non-voter approved debt appears in the audit report that is produced by our independent auditor at the end of each fiscal year. It's basically made up of 5 items, fiscal year 24 to fiscal year 25, because again, our last audit was June 30, 2025. The first item on that is the certificate of participation that Ms. Longshore mentioned. In fiscal year 24, the remaining debt as of June 30, 24 was $14,695,876. In June of 25, it was $14,479,245, a decrease of approximately $216,000. The next item is compensated absences. And I'm going to read directly from the audit report. The definition and calculation of compensated absences was affected by the Governmental Accounting Standards Board, commonly known as GASB, Statement 101. GASB 101 compensated absences is a new accounting standard that now expands the definition for employee leave to include sick time that is likely to be used during employment. So our compensated absences is considered non-voter approved debt because it's a liability based on the sick leave and vacation provided to the employees of Apple Valley Unified School District. The auditor calculated that debt at $69,554 in fiscal year 24. The auditor calculated that liability or that debt at $10,622,340 fiscal year 25, an increase of $10,552,796. Now keep in mind, not everybody takes all their sick leave or all their vacation all in 1 year. So that is a liability in accounting, but not a liability on our financial statements. The next is the early retirement incentive. As of June 2024, our non-voter approved debt was $2,324,821. We had 2 payments left on the PARS that was issued, oh goodness, I'm sorry, spring of 21? What? So we still had 2 payments, July of 25 and July of 26. We did another PARS. And so the early retirement incentive increased to $6.9 million in June of 2025, an increase of 4.6. We made a payment, but then we incurred more PARS non-voter approved debt. The private placement debt that I mentioned, or that Ms. Longshore mentioned earlier, the second COPS, was issued in December of 24, so that did not appear in June of 24, but it appeared in June of 25. That's $10 million. And last but not least, there's leased assets. Leased assets are made up of 2 categories: subscription-based IT arrangements, or SBITAs, per GASB 96, and right-to-use assets, as defined in GASB 87. The SBITAs are agreements over 1 year in length for software, and the right-to-use assets are for agreements over 1 year for typically copiers, but could include other tangible assets where applicable. And the auditor calculated that lease debt at just over $1 million.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you. I
So-
appreciate
So
it.
in reality, if you don't take your sick leave this year and you choose to take it next year, it's going to show up.
Well, the auditor calculates this based on the GASB accounting standards as to simply put it, if everybody took all their leave in 1 year, it'd be about a $10 million liability for us.
Yeah.
But that doesn't happen. It's an accounting
Yeah. And we don't have
calculation.
control over that.
It is not
We really
an
don't.
expense or a liability on our financials.
Thank you. You have explained it in great detail. Thanks a lot.
Certainly.
Yes, thank you. So just to wrap it up, our non-voter approved debt, it stands at $43 million. We've made a habit of taking out loans. My recommendation at this point is to figure out how we can learn to live within our means as a district so that we can build our reserves and truly bring stability to AVUSD. Thank you.
All right. How do you vote, Mrs. Longshore?
Oh, definitely no.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
No.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
And Ms. Buchanan, aye. Item 10, adopt resolution 2526-18 to authorize temporary borrowing between funds of the school district during the 2026-2027 fiscal year. I'll make the motion.
I'll second.
All right, and I already asked my questions on the wrong one, so I'm good. Any other discussion?
I do just have a little discussion. I know we passed this last year, and then I brought it back for us to reconsider. As a board, if we keep doing the same thing, we are going to keep staying in this broken space. I really urge us to carefully think before we hand over our fiscal duties.
Again, if the board would recall, in January, I brought to the board the interfund borrowing report for the current year, which did illustrate $13 million of interfund borrowing from Fund 13, from Fund 25, from Fund 40 into Fund 1, because we were experiencing a cash shortage in Fund 1 because of the federal government shutdown. Now, when the federal apportionments arrived to California and California distributed those federal apportionments, all of that cash borrowing was paid back to the other funds, as the report illustrated during the January board meeting. Without this particular resolution, we would not be able to facilitate all internal borrowing for cash to cover expenses and payrolls. And then you would be more likely forced to utilize a TRAN if we cannot borrow internally between our own funds.
And I'd like to point out that getting board approval for those transfers is not saying we're not giving permission for that. It's saying that we would like to oversee it. We would like to provide some direction for it. Again, I'd like to emphasize it's not a bad thing, providing that oversight for this district. It's actually what we were elected to do. I'd also like to ask, I know according to the last report, it mentioned that we have $13 million currently in interfund borrowing that has yet to be paid back. I believe it said it has to be paid back by June 30th.
All of our interfund borrowing in the current fiscal year has already been paid back,
Okay, so
per the item I brought in January to the board.
okay, so all interfund borrowing at this point has been paid back.
Yes.
Thank you so much. If we pass this as a board, we will have done exactly the same thing we did last year. Exactly the same. And from where I sit, it hasn't brought us anywhere good. And now's the time to think about doing something different.
Is there any other discussion?
Is there a limit to how much we can authorize for the district to do without coming to us for approval?
I'm sorry, Ms. Okpara, I could not hear you.
Oh, sorry about that. I was just looking because you need to be running the district. We don't have to micromanage the district. But I'm just curious about, is there, if not to exceed? So when it gets to the way it's going to that, hit that exceeding number, that you can reach back out to the board. The problem I have with all of this conversation is that we're already struggling with having one meeting a month, okay, or 2 meetings a month. And if we begin to micromanage this, we are asking to have meetings every time we need to transfer funds. So that's where I'm struggling, because the money it's not in my pocket, but I just want to be sure that it is something that we can manage and have some kind of a regular updates on where you are on the movement. And it's still a board oversight.
Yes.
The board does not have to come in and figure out show us the book and let's sign off.
Yeah.
Because we don't want to micromanage, but we want to know.
Absolutely. So keep in mind, this is all cash between funds. It's cash in county treasury. So if we are suffering a cash shortage in a fund, it could be in Fund 11. Adult education very commonly suffers a cash shortage because the federal government apportions the cash out irregularly, but our people are paid regularly. Like I said, in January, I brought the interfund borrowing report to the board that illustrated all the interfund borrowing that we had up to that point. That would be the oversight. It shows the cash borrowing that the business office, mainly the director of fiscal services, had to move cash to cover expenses, usually payroll. And then once the apportionment arrives, the cash is repaid to whatever fund it was borrowed from. And that interfund borrowing report will come whenever interfund borrowing is necessary.
Thank you. Thanks.
All right, we'll be taking the vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore?
Nay.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
And Mrs. Buchanan, aye. Number 11, adopt resolution 2526-19, making findings under the Government Code 4217.12 in furtherance of utilization of CalShape funds for improvement of ventilation systems at Apple Valley Unified School District.
I'll move.
All right, I'll second. Any discussion? Okay, we will be taking the vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
Mrs. Buchanan? Aye. Consent agenda. It is recommended that the Board of Trustees consider approving a number of agenda items as a consent list. Consent items are routine in nature and can be enacted in one motion without further discussion. This procedure conserves meeting time for a full discussion of significant issues. Consent items currently to be approved in one motion are 1 through 40. Is there any that people would like to pull?
Yeah, I do. I would like to pull item 13. Seventeen. 22. 26, 27, and 28.
I would like to pull item 1.
All right, so I'm going to make a motion that we approve items 2 through 12, 14, 15, and 16, 18 through 21, 23 through 25, and 29 through 40.
I'll second your motion.
All right. Is there any discussion? All right, we will be taking the vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
Mrs. Buchanan? Aye. We'll go numerically here. So number 1, pulled by Trustee Longshore.
Yes, thank you. I would like to note that approving the minutes we're still 2 months behind. So the minutes we're approving tonight are from March 5th, 2026. Just for accuracy purposes, getting it sooner would help me. I would also like to point out that the work of this dais, when our resolution came forward for discussion, the original time it came forward in support of our superintendent, it was brought to this board, it was discussed, it was voted on, and then it was essentially tabled by our president and also affirmed by our clerk. I know we had a cure and correct come forward to let the board know that that was outside of the law. You can't table a failed motion. And then we answered that it never happened because we never voted on it. And according to standard parliamentary procedure, decisions made by the president of this board happen and they stand as action unless the board votes against it. So if we would have taken a vote at that time and as a board, the majority, if we would have voted in majority not to table it, then it wouldn't have been tabled. That's the only way to reverse what a president has determined has happened and what was said. So I know I brought up my concern about this, that it be written down, that it be noted that it actually happened. And in this minutes of March 5th, 2026, it's not even noted in there. And I just don't want an erasure of history here. I think it's important to note that that action was attempted to be taken and the board never voted against it being taken. So I just think it should be duly noted in our minutes.
If you wouldn't mind just providing me the timestamp of when there was a motion to table it. I reviewed verbatim for countless hours and did it in different ways to just try to listen to audio only, not look at video, watch it both ways. There was never a motion to actually do anything. There was a comment made, but there was no motion to take any form of an action. So if I missed something, I was unaware that you found this error. So if you could point it to me, that would be great, because I would like to give it over to our attorney as well, who worked on the cure and correct over this same section, who also did not find it. It would be helpful to have that to provide. They're done to the best of my ability and as verbatim as I could have gotten them with the time spent.
Yes, thank you. So I did not say there was a motion made. That is not what I said. I said our president said she was going to table it. And so that in and of itself is an action on this dais, and it's not recorded in these minutes. And then our clerk followed up and said, yes, we're going to table it. So no, there was no motion. I agree with you. No motion was made. No vote was taken. It was just a declaration of our president and an agreement of our clerk.
Okay, whatever the board would like to do, I'm reading right now from Robert's Rules of Order, and it says, in most formal proceedings, including Robert's Rules of Order, you must make a formal motion to table an item. It does not happen automatically. The chair cannot decide to table something just because the discussion is getting long. It gives examples, processes, so whatever the board would like it to reflect. I just ask that whatever it is consistent for me to be able to follow for the future. What type of comments I'm expected to put in. Right now, our board bylaw says actions of the board. So any direction would be helpful on expectations.
So I'd just like to have an accurate history of what's happening on this board. I know we record a lot of things other than actions. We record our comments. We record anything we say. So this would just be in reference to that. It wouldn't necessarily have to have a motion or a vote, but just clearly recording what happened that evening.
Are you asking to amend the minutes?
Yes, that would be great. I mean, if we're able to.
No, I'm not saying that I'm doing that. I'm asking
No,
for.
I understand. No, that would be
because the
great. Thank you
discussion.
for bringing it up.
I'll be quiet. I don't get to talk.
You have to remember that this is just a synopsis of it. It's not a verbatim. The verbatim is if you want to go watch the tapes that you bring up a lot. But the fact that this is synopsized in a condensed version of what happened. So if there's a word missing, Ms. Longshore, it's not falling on Kylie's side of this, to chastise her for this. So you're way out of line bringing this up, because you know darn well that this is not a verbatim transcript.
No, I understand.
And, you're asking her that. Why is this word missing? Why is the word motion not there? You know,
No.
you're being very petty. And I think you're doing it on purpose. And I know the reason why you're doing it on purpose.
I need to step in and make a comment that our board meetings have gone in excess of midnight at times. This particular meeting was a very long meeting. Kylie spent over 40 hours in review of the information to get a set of minutes. And having been the superintendent for now 7 years, that is not the norm for her to have to spend that amount of time because of the motions, the seconds, then a second motion and a second and no vote taken. And so she does have the requirement under her job description to make sure that the motions and the recorded actions are taken. And so she is following the bylaw. She is following what is expected of her. And I think that the criticism that continues to come up about the minutes, if there is an issue that needs to be addressed, I supervise her. And I would like those things not to be done in public session and rather be addressed to me if there is an issue.
Okay, if I can address Mr. Raleigh, and then I'll come back to you, Superintendent Nelson. This is not a word. This is a series of comments that happened on this dais. It's seriously something that warrants some sort of record. I'm not chastising when I bring things up that concern me. That's a judgment of me. I'm bringing it up for clarity. I think it's important that as a board, we have an accurate record, both written and in a video. I'm not being unreasonable to bring up something that concerns me. And Superintendent Nelson, as far as these board meetings going along, I understand. I'm here too. We're all going through it. This idea that we could possibly have split the board meetings up so we didn't have to go so late into the night was brought up and refused to be considered. Just for the record, I'm in favor of it. I think we're here to do a job, and until that job gets done, we do need to stay. So if our content of our board meetings are so large, might we consider coming back to that idea of considering 2 board meetings a month? But I do think that it is so important to take accurate record, and it's not a word. It was actually a conversation, and I entered it, Ms. Tucker entered it, Ms. Buchanan entered it, and so did Ms. Akpara. A conversation, not a word.
So you still didn't answer the question when Ms. Nelson asked you not to bring these allegations, these conspiracy theories that she's misstating things in public. Are you going to address that, or are you just going to ramble on about the meetings running late and we want 3 meetings a month or how many meetings? Are you going to address what she asked? Or are you going to argue that you don't need to?
Mr. Raleigh, I'm not sure why you think it's okay to say that I'm chastising people or that I have conspiracy theories. All of these are marks of a person's character, and I'm not sure why you keep drawing those conclusions about me. I believe I did answer your question. Superintendent Nelson, was there part of your question you had for me that I didn't answer specifically?
There's no need to continue this.
Okay.
Okay, thank you.
All right, I'm going to go ahead and make the motion on consent item 1 to approve. I'm going to need a second.
I'll second the motion to approve item 1.
All right, we'll take the vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore,
Nay?
Mr. Raleigh,
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker,
No.
Ms. Akbara,
Aye.
and Ms. Buchanan, aye. All right, we're going to turn it over to Trustee Akpara. You've got 13, 17, 22, 26, 27, and 28.
13, I know that we brought up the issue of safe and civil schools for student champions, training for High Desert Premier, Phoenix Academy, and Yakaloma. I'm interested in knowing how it's going so far in order for us to go even deeper.
It's amazing. And they are celebrating and they are working to identify the students that are actually moving on to Granite Hills High School and Apple Valley High School and making sure that those students have a connection when they arrive at those schools. In fact, I believe they've been invited to the student champions so that they get to meet those eighth graders that are moving on to their campuses. For us, it is a highlight of what is going on and what is going right in our schools. And so to continue this is something that all of the schools are looking at ways that they can create connections for students, not exactly like the student champions, but certainly in the cases of our foster youth, making sure that they have a champion that's attached to them and not trained through Safe and Civil, but some of the similar information. So this is through their funding, through Equity Multiplier, and it is going well.
Thank you. I was asking because I needed update before we have an agreement on this. Go to the next one.
17.
Number 17, OH settlement agreement for a case number. I know you cannot share what the case is because that's my wheelhouse. I know you don't share those. But is this rare for us to get just one this year?
We've had a few, yeah, I think
think
this
it's our
is the
second.
second.
This
Yeah,
is the
but it's been we have had fewer, and that's nice to see.
Yeah, which means that people are doing a better
Yes.
job, a good job to avoid. I just recently wrote a paper on that to explain the importance of trustees knowing about special education so that we're not coming from the world of trying to avoid litigation, but rather being able to be proactive to give our people the trainings they need so that we don't even have to go look at litigation. Thank you. Next one.
22.
22, juvenile court schools. How are we keeping up with those students of ours that make it to the juvenile court, and how is it transitioned back to us?
Mrs. Nelson, you can probably speak to this, and if there's anything else, you just let me know.
Every one of them is independent, right? So it depends on the length of time that they're there. Typically, the placements are at least 30 days when they are transitioned into juvenile court school. And upon their return, they are welcomed back and a plan is put in place for anything that they have missed. And if there's credit recovery that is necessary, or we monitor. So each of them has a counselor and we're aware that they have been there and that they're returning.
Perfect. Thank you.
Anything to add, Mr. Schlosser?
No, I would say that's accurate. And to be honest, if they're in our county and it's our county superintendent schools, court school system, it's actually much more seamless. We've been experiencing students most recently from outside of our county in the state and even outside of our state. Quite a number of students now placed here from court systems in Mississippi, Texas, Alabama. And that's not as seamless as you might imagine.
Thank you.
26, 27,
26, board policy, high school graduation requirements. Does this include the students who are foster youth and homeless youth students because of the number of credits that they have to meet? Instead of meeting the 230, they meet less? Is that what you're looking at?
It does include still the provision for students who experience either a change of placement during foster and then have a reduced requirement. And then if I can look at the,
And does it also include partial credit when they transfer? Because
Yes.
instead of looking for the full credit, they can get the partial credit coming in.
Yes, it does require that both the sending school, if they leave us, provides partial credits to students who are leaving at a point at which, at least at the high school level, we are not used to issuing credits in fractional apportionment, but we must do that for students who leave. And also we must accept those credits for students who come to us at those times that are not the traditional times at quarter or semester.
27, reciprocity of academic credit. I'm curious here because sometimes they come from a non-accredited schools, and they're coming with credits that didn't come from an accredited school. How is that working? How do you deal with those credits?
Here's how we do that. We endeavor to contact the school and take a look at if we can get a look at the curriculum and have our curriculum experts from that same subject area evaluate whether or not they would accept that for an equivalent course in our system. We still mark it as transfer, but we let, for example, the English or science department say, okay, I think that matches our biology class, or that matches, so that we don't harm a student. But it gets very difficult if it's unaccredited and doesn't adhere to any kind of curriculum that we can identify. And so sometimes it's difficult to issue anything other than elective credit. It doesn't happen often, but from time to time it does happen. It's more difficult when they're coming from out of country. And the credits are not only difficult for us sometimes to parse, but it's hard for us to get a real curriculum to examine it and then get it translated so that the teacher, department chair can decide how many credits to issue. But that's typically our manner, is to dig and find the curriculum. Often it's principal to principal, and I remember doing this as Apple Valley High School principal, calling a principal from another system somewhere, a non-public school, and getting a sense of, okay, can you give me the background and send me the curriculum so I can share with my department chair? And then we come to an agreement that way.
How does it work for students who are coming from homeschool?
Same. They have to send us they have to be using some kind of a curriculum. And so we ask them to provide that for us so that we can get a sense of what is the material they've been using to back up this claim of content.
Okay, thank you. 28 is, that is my wheelhouse. And it has to do with students with disabilities. Differential graduation and competency standards for students with disability. It is particularly close to my heart because that's that's my world.
Yeah.
At what point in their academic journey do you have this conversation about they're going to have the differential graduation as opposed to the regular graduation?
As
Is that
late
during
as
an
possible. As late as possible, right? Because in our minds, everyone's graduation track, as long as that's still possible, and that at some point it could be that we determine that's no longer perhaps, and that it sometimes happens right around a second attempt at Math 1. And so we start thinking, okay, maybe we need to make a different pathway. But we don't make that decision early, and we are careful about that, particularly at that 8 to 9 transition. A great number of our special ed students come in as grad track, and then we make a different decision later through the IEP process as a team.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah.
Does anyone at the dais have a problem with me making a motion to approve all of Trustee Akpara's as one motion? Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and make the motion that we approve consent item 13, 17, 22, 26, 27, and 28. Can I get a second? I made the motion. I just need a- All right.
I'll second.
Akpara. All right, we'll take the vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara?
Aye.
And Ms. Buchanan, aye. All right, item M, closing items, future items. Do any members of the board have any future items?
I do.
Okay.
I would like to request a presentation on the possibility of, I'm calling it a beta program, of doing a late start with a small number of student and teacher volunteers. I realize that I'm the what, but my what would be seen if perhaps we would have 2 volunteer teachers, maybe elective, 1 elective, 2 elective, or maybe elective and physical education teachers that would be interested in starting late, possibly 2 periods in. And it would be the possibility of having about 64 approximately, depending on class size, volunteer students, grades 10 to 12 to participate. Because transportation would possibly be problematic, they would need families to transport for this. Since administrators are on campus while students are present, this should not be an issue for extra coverage. And as we continue to ensure that we support all our students, we could collect data on the participants with regard to their improved attendance, grades, and discipline with this. I know that Mr. Peak has provided a lot of data supporting a late start and has been a strong and eloquent advocate for a late start. And perhaps seeing if a beta program might be feasible to put into place because it's a smaller amount and using volunteers, I would suggest possibly Granite Hills to see. That's my what, and I would leave the how to our amazing staff. Thank you.
You're asking for a presentation on that, what it would take to propose something like that? Are you asking for that to start for next year, for us to work towards that for the fall? Because that's really what I had indicated when we talked about this months ago, that I was more than willing to look at some options, but it would take us a school year to do that, to get people involved.
Options would be great. I don't need a presentation if this is something that you're working for. It's just been on my heart a lot if there's something that we could do with, and I know how much financially it would be to do a complete change, but just maybe to see if there's some way to do that and then follow up with results on things like attendance and.
But for clarification, are you asking for us to try to do that as a startup for this coming school year?
If you could, that would be amazing. I don't know. If
I
you
don't
can.
believe I can. That's why I'm saying that. We're within a few weeks of us shutting down and not having access. So I won't have access to people to work through that. But I am more than willing to work on that process for the 27-28 school year. That was my goal all along, was to look at some options for students that wanted a late start. I don't know that it's feasible, but I'm more than willing to try.
I understand, and I don't know if it's feasible either, but I figure if it is, you'll be able to work magic and make it happen.
Okay, as long as I know that the timeline isn't set and you're asking for the fall.
I would love it if it could be for the fall for Mr. Peak, but I know that's difficult.
It sounds like he's not here, but it
He's
sounds like
not
Mr.
here.
Peak is ready to do that. He's got a first period that he has optional. So we'll work through that with others. We are really trying to stay away from students not taking first period off. But we certainly are more than willing to look at the options of a 2 through 7th period to accommodate students that don't need transportation, which that still causes some issues for me because there are kids that might want to do it that can't.
know.
And so we will bring forward, it's going to take some surveying and some information from students that have an interest as well as the adults, and I think negotiations with our groups. So, okay.
Thank you very much for considering.
Absolutely.
Just so we have a consensus, Trustee Longshore, Are you okay with that?
Just for clarification, you're asking if I agree with
Her request.
Trustee Tucker?
Yeah.
Yes, I agree.
And Trustee Raleigh?
I don't have an issue with it.
Okay. And Trustee Akbar? Well, that's 3, so it doesn't matter, but yes. So we've got consensus.
I feel like we did this earlier when I said I'd check into my information for study.
Okay. Are there any other future items?
I requested the board that we consider adding a discussion action item to establish rules of order for this board. I know that Ms. Caudell just referenced Robert's Rules of Order, definitely a possibility. And just keep in mind that if we acknowledge rules of order now, working with CSBA, at any point in time in the future, we can adjust it as need be. But I do think we need some structure on this board. So can we add that as a discussion action item?
I think we've already addressed this a couple times. And there's not consensus at this point. The consensus was that we will make sure that CSBA makes it a priority when we begin with them.
So does the board still feel that way, that we don't need any rules of order until CSBA comes in?
I would be in favor of having a set rule that we follow and then adopt it if necessary when we meet with CBSA.
Rick, would you like to change your consensus?
No, we have rules of order. We follow rules. I don't.
Maria,
Can
do you
you-
want to change yours at all?
No, I'm not changing mine. I think we have been functioning with rules, and we need to do the best we can with the rules that we have until CSBA gives us a real set of rules that they think we need to follow.
Mr. Rowley said we have rules of order. Could you clarify for me what those rules of order are,
No,
Mr. Rowley?
I'm not going to debate you up here.
It's not debate. I need to know what rules we're following on this
Well,
dais.
if you can't figure it out, then maybe you should do a little bit more study instead of asking me to explain to you at 10:30.
Thank you.
All right, our next regular board meeting is Thursday, May 21st, 2026, approximately 5 PM in the ESC, the Educational Sports Center. There being no further business to come before the Board of Trustees, it is recommended that the meeting be adjourned. I'll make the motion.
A second.
All right, we will be taking a vote via roll call. Mrs. Longshore?
Aye.
Mr. Raleigh?
Aye.
Mrs. Tucker?
Aye.
Ms. Akpara had to step out, so she'll abstain. And then Mrs. Buchanan, aye. Is that abstain or would I put absent? Absent, okay. All right, this meeting is adjourned at 10:24.